started. I actually have some popcorn here. That's there. One of the things that helps to relieve stress, sometimes is food. All right, how many of you agree? Right, we need to be cautious though that, right, we need to always have limits in using food to help us de-stress, right? But it can be something that helps us there. Okay, so you're more than welcome to munch on those when we get started. So, to start our session, we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna ask you, what were some strategies that we also discussed? Okay.
Breathe deeply.
Breathing deeply, very good. Okay, what else? You remember?
Watch a movie.
Watching a movie, good. Something else? No?
Relaxing.
Relaxing. Who could give me an example of relaxing? Because relaxing can be for many different things for people.
Like listening to music.
Listening to music, okay? That could be a form of relaxing, okay? Very good. Okay, so those are just some strategies, some techniques. So Wendy mentioned deep breathing, and last time I told you, well, we kind of ran out of time. We kind of just went with the discussion activity. So deep breathing, a lot of people actually practice it, even almost like a profession, right? Classes like yoga, some other fitness classes, they really focus on breathing. So let's go ahead and do it, okay? Let's get up. Let's get up and change the scene here a little bit. Anyone want to lead us? A deep breath activity. What are some ways that we could demonstrate deep breathing? Someone want to lead us? Everyone's tired today. It's Thursday, so we're done, almost done with the week. All right, so we're gonna do this. We're gonna use our hands, and we're gonna go up as we inhale, and then we're gonna exhale and push it out. Good. All right, here we go. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Good, thank you guys. All right, have a seat. So that's just simply one way. It took us literally less than a minute, right? A lot of people use their hands different ways. Like I do in my classes, right? When I teach my fitness class, a lot of times I usually start with deep breaths and I end with deep breaths. But you can use your hands. Sometimes you don't even have to use your hands. For example, how could you modify this in the classroom? You're feeling a little stressed, overwhelmed, and one of your strategies is to have a deep breath. How would that look like in the classroom? Special?
Maybe like a little stretch, like moving your head, like.
So stretching could come into this. But good, but we're talking particularly breathing. How would breathing look like in the classroom?
I would use my hands, but I would close my eyes and breathe.
Okay, very good. So just that, just sitting in the classroom. I think I find myself, I remember if somebody makes me upset. I usually sometimes we do it automatically. How many of you have done that before? All right, someone right there in the spot, right, is making you upset, and you're just like, you take a deep breath. So physically, our body physically goes through something that helps us, right? When we take a deep breath, it helps us to kind of relax. So something that physically happens, right? Very good, very good. So deep breathing is a great exercise, a very popular one that you can very simply do, right, and help. You can also do it with someone else, right? You can help someone else maybe relax. Say, hey, you can hold their hands or hold their shoulder, or not even touch them, right? But say, hey, take a deep breath. And you can guide them to do that. So it's a very, very good strategy. Very good, guys. All right, so I'm gonna take it a little further now. So you think, what are some stress-related activities or things that maybe daily at home, little brothers and sisters, could cause some stress, right? School, that could be many, many things, from walking in the morning to your work, to homework, to friends, to recess. There's tons of factors involved in school, to your grades, right, eventually, finally. And then lastly, but again, these are not the only areas, but also friends, right? Friends could cause stress. And I want to add something that I didn't talk about before. Did you guys know that there's a term that's called eustress? Everybody say eustress.
Eustress.
And if I'm not mistaken, I believe it's spelled E-U and then stress. I found out about that when I was going to college. I believe it was college, my first year in college, and I was like, what? I never heard that before. So eustress is actually good kind of stress. And that is good because it allows us to almost like be alert. So sometimes you need to have stress that kind of makes you have action or take decisions, right? Use stress for example would be, what if you're getting married, right? I remember going through that, right? And it's like a good kind of stress because you're excited, it's something new, but it is also scary. So your body goes through that kind of stress. But it's a stress that doesn't really affect us as negatively as maybe the bad kind of stress, right? That we're calling. Very good. So these are the three major areas that we're talking about. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to place these signs over here, these little slips, and they have different scenarios, okay? I'm going to lay them on the floor, get you guys to move a little bit more. You're welcome to lay a popcorn there on the side on the bottom. And take just a couple seconds to look at them. And then you're going to decide which one, let me clarify the question here, which one of these scenarios, these events or times maybe in my life, have I dealt with stress and I've been able to manage it, okay? Or you could go the other way. You could say, this one's really challenging for me. This is something that I really struggle with. So it can either be a success story or something that you have a challenge with. But something that just calls your name. You say, oh, that one. That's just one that, okay? You want to choose one or two, you're more than welcome to. We're a small group, so I think we have the time for it, okay? So are you ready? I'm going to lay them out. Before you look at them, let me lay them out in the chance there. Try to do different ones, different ones. All right. So take just a second to look at them first. Someone might take yours, and that's okay. It's not a fight here, so maybe you can just have a second choice and a couple seconds to look at those. Okay. Ready, set, go. Go ahead and choose one or two. One or two that calls your name. Okay, so we left a couple behind, that's okay. Very good, thank you. Okay. All right, so let's see. We'll go ahead and start on that side first. So go ahead and show us your sign. Go ahead and read it for us, and then tell us why you chose that particular one.
Extracurricular activities.
Okay.
I always wanted to do a sport at school. Sometimes the nerves and stress get to me, so I decide not to.
Okay, so stress actually affected your decision in participating in the sport or not. I'm gonna extend that your answer a little and ask you the following. Why? What were some things that manifested themselves? Because you said they would stress me. So you've already been in a situation where you played sports. How many of you play sports or have an activity that you have done or did? Okay, very good. So how would you feel stressed that it would lead you to not?
And being successful in it.
So unsuccessful. How do you define that?
For example, basketball. Like not able to manage to make a shot, make a basket.
Oh, okay. So the skills themselves. So you would like feel frustrated that you wouldn't be able to do certain things. Okay. That kind of brought your sense of like security, right? Or feeling that you could play that sport. Very good. Thank you for sharing. All right, Sebastian. They took yours right there. That's okay. So you agree with? I love how you said that. I agree with her. Very good. And so instead of saying she took mine, right? In the classroom we say, she took my answer. I agree with. Okay, so give us one of them.
Failing a test.
Okay, what?
Failing a test.
Failing a test. Okay. So what can you say about that scenario?
Like when I fail a test, like I would usually get stressed and like get frustrated a little. But now I think of it as the opposite. When I fail a test, I say, what's a way I could bring up my grade?
Oh, very good. So you actually take it as like a lesson and you say, well, I didn't do too well, but next time, right, when I have another opportunity, maybe I can try to do better. We call that, or is something that I like to call growth mindset. So instead of focusing on the negative, we what? Focus on the positive, or create something positive out of it. Very good, very good. Okay, and Ashley?
So, failing a test stresses me, and because I failed the test and my mom would ask me what I got on my test, and I would say, oh, I failed. Well, it would stress me out telling her that I failed, and like saying, okay, I'll do better next time.
I see. So the concern was more of your parents' expectations, because you know she expects, right, certain things from you. So that part of having to tell her, very good. Okay, it's kind of different, right? But very good. So there's our personal stress that we kind of, right, we feel it, but then it's also like that's also going to cause this, right? So very good. So okay, thank you. Wendy?
One of mine is for sleep.
Poor sleep. Interesting. Tell us about that one.
Well, it's because I have a lot of trouble getting to sleep, and it stresses me out that I can't at that time. Like, I can't be at bed at that time.
Oh, I see. And then so what happens when you don't get enough sleep?
I wake up, and for right now, my scenario is that I have state testing.
Ooh, I see. And do you feel that that causes you to be more stressed?
Yes.
Because you're not rested, right? You feel tired. I think that's for some of us, for the majority of people, right? If we don't get enough sleep, it physically affects our ability to give maybe 100% for a day. And that goes for anyone, our parents, at work, right? You guys are at school right now, you're state testing, you mentioned something very important. And they tell you, right? Even the teachers tell you, make sure you get enough sleep, make sure you eat, right? All those things, because they do affect you physically. Very good. All right, and then you also chose feeling left out or alone. Can you tell us a little bit about that one?
Because that's school, I always have friends, and I'm not like them.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So that feeling of not being part of a particular group, right, can sometimes cause stress. So you're wanting to find out why. Very good. You guys did an awesome job. All right, you can go ahead and place them down there. Okay. All right. Would anyone like to add maybe a scenario? Think of a time that just recently, you mentioned state testing, but think of the actual scenario. Okay, what did it feel like? Possibly even sound like, right? And I say sounds because sometimes that's involved, right? How could you visualize? Give us a visualization of how you felt during that time, that stressful moment. Give you a couple seconds to think. Just recently. I mean, I can say every day. There's something for me every day. Think about one, and not everyone has to share. Just if something comes to mind. Think of a time. When you're ready, show me a thumbs up. And the rest is fine. I don't want to cut you off, but see, even this itself is a good activity, right? To self-reflect, takes you back. You guys are thinking. So hold on to that thought. If we have time, we'll get to it. If not, it's okay. After our session, we might have to do more sessions. Remember we said that. All right. So Ashley, you had your thumb up first. You mind sharing? What did you think about?
Presenting or speaking.
Hmm.
Like last month, I had to present my project,
Mm-hmm.
and I got pretty nervous and stressed because all the attention is on me. And,
Okay, very good.
and it wasn't very silent when I was speaking, so I had to speak really loud
Okay.
so everyone could hear me, and I would get points
Mhm.
for speaking loud
I see.
enough.
Okay, so your voice had to project. There's a lot of elements when you're speaking, right, that you had to consider. Very good. Interesting enough here. This is not sometimes, right? It's easy for me maybe, or I do it all the time, but even being in a situation like this, you're like, I want to say something, but I don't know, right? Our body naturally tends to go into a state of kind of, somewhat of stress. Some people, I remember I would even, that's why I asked physically. What are some things that you physically do? Do you fidget? Do you move your body? What are
I
some
go
things?
like this.
Okay, your hands, right? Your hands can get sweaty, right? How many of you have experienced that maybe, right? Get sweaty in other places, right? One for me that I didn't realize until college. I would get red right here, like on my chest. And I felt perfectly fine. I felt prepared and I didn't feel stressed, but my body was physically reacting to the nerves by showing the red, so that was interesting. A lot of people, you can hear it in their voice, they're shaky. Some people might even laugh. Get nervous. You've heard anyone laugh when they're nervous? So that was kind of interesting. So many different scenarios. Okay, very good. All right, so I'm going to give you something now that's a little more, what's the word, deep. Okay, you're welcome to share, not share, or we can simply have a discussion about it and reflect on it. What happens when our stress level, these are kind of everyday things or things that we seem to be able to manage well, some better than others. But what happens when we have situations that are a lot stronger, that are really out of our hands? And when I say out of our hands, because they're not our problem, but yet they affect us. For example, losing a loved one, right? How many of you have lost a loved one? Okay, how many of you still remember them and remember how bad it hurts? That's really hard, right? We can try many, many different strategies to help deal with the stress, so-called stress, right? But this is a very difficult one that it could even take years to get over. And we continue to have these memories of these people, right? Would anyone like to share? Maybe someone recently or someone that's just dear to your heart that this is something that, stays with me forever. Anyone like to share? Or simply you?
My grandma died.
When your grandmother died. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
I was 6 years old and I didn't really understand until I didn't see her anymore.
And that affected you emotionally, right? And that's the hardest thing. When we lose a loved one, we don't realize the impact until they're no longer there, right? So this is what's really neat, because sometimes we have our family, but we also have our friends, or we have people that are in the same situation, same grade, age, right? That allows us to speak, and maybe sometimes you just need someone to listen, right? You don't need necessarily someone to tell you what to do, because you can't really fix it, right? Sometimes there's topics and things that we talk about that have no solution. They simply, by speaking and by doing even counseling sessions like this, allow us to get it out, right? And that's good. A lot of people have a really hard time getting things out. And they do it different ways, and that's okay too. But this is one way that we should practice. So thank you, Wendy, for sharing that. How about this one? What does it say?
Divorce.
This is a toughie, right? Especially for children your age. I think for children any age, right? Going through a divorce, I know myself even now, I feel that as an adult, I didn't have my father growing up. How many of you don't have a father? Don't have a father, didn't have that perfect family growing up, right? And I don't think I needed it. I think I did fairly well, but it did affect me emotionally later on, or maybe even as a young kid when my other friends had their dads, right? Or father-daughter dads, or some activity where it was like, I didn't have that, and that would hurt. I learned to grow up and maybe get over it, quote unquote, but it still hurts, right? And it can lead to a level of stress where you're emotionally, sometimes even blaming yourself. A lot of kids, that's one of the biggest issues, right? That even therapists and psychologists, and when parents go through divorce, children will tend to feel guilty and they say it was my fault or because of this, right? So that's a really, really hard situation to handle. But yet again, we can look to strategies, our friends, our family for support, and find positive ways and positive outlets to be able to overcome these things. So would you agree that those situations right there, when I say those, not having enough sleep, failing your test, are minimal stress related versus these two, right? And we have many others, right? So stress levels can be very, very widely ranged, right? They can go from very low stress, okay, in that moment, I'm over it, to maybe for a lifetime, right? To maybe where you even have to take medication, right? I know some people that have to take medication to calm their anxiety and calm their feelings, right? So it just depends. All right, very good. And then lastly, resiliency. Okay, how many of you have heard this term before? Anybody heard it? Who's never heard this term before? You never heard it? Okay, so only Ashley. Interesting. Okay.
But I forgot what it meant.
Okay, very good. So when someone refers to the term resiliency, and there's an actual definition term for it, but I think of it as a person that is resilient is able to overcome many challenges. And not just simply overcome them, but through a positive manner. Okay? So being resilient is an opportunity, is something that takes time to develop. Not many people are able to do that. But hopefully with discussions like these, with stress management, stress activities, you can become someone that's resilient. I can't say now or in 5 years, that just depends. Everyone's different. At different times they have to become. A child, for example, that at a very young age lost their parents and becomes a foster child. At a very young age, they might have to become resilient because they have, that's kind of their natural state and their natural, their environment is causing them to be in this and have to overcome. They really don't have a choice, right? So resiliency. So I want you to take this term, this word for the next session. So we kind of ended with this. And I want you to think of the following. What are 3 items? And they don't have to be physical. They can be pictures or you can write them down. 3 items similar to the paper bag activity maybe you guys have done. I want you to bring 3 items that represent you and your strengths. In other words, this is what allows me to be resilient. Okay, let me give an example, your family. Okay, I know that I have the support of my family, or you have maybe a particular person in your family. Okay, that person I feel will always be my anchor and like my foundation so that I can become resilient. So think of either items, it can be physical, or it can be, like I said, written down, and you can share that, or they can be, what was the other one? I forgot now. Pictures, right? Images, okay? So something that's actual physical we can touch, an item, an image, and or something that you write down for our following session, and we'll kind of start the session with that, okay? So resiliency and how you can represent that via your items that you bring next week, okay? Any questions? Are we good? a lot of terms going on here. All right. Well, thank you guys. So we'll see each other for the next one.